Volkswagen Golf GTi has long been championed as one of the best cars that money can buy. It's spacious, comfortable, easy to drive, but yet it's blisteringly quick. This new one has 220 brake horsepower, it has 350 Newton meters of torque, and will get you from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 6.5 seconds. It is, for many, the ultimate Golf. And this is where the story of the Golf began, way back in 1974 with a Mark I just like this one. The year was 1974, and there was a lot of talk about oil running out and how we needed to have a more sustainable future. The Volkswagen Beetle had been on the production line since 1945, and by the time 1974 came around, it really was very long in the tooth. This was a revelation. The Golf gave people exactly what they needed in the 1970s. A spacious, comfortable, practical and affordable 5-door hatchback. And 40 years later, Volkswagen are doing exactly that again. And then in 1975, in order to keep pace with a growing demand and a broadening range, Volkswagen invested 2.5 billion Deutschmarks into creating a new platform on which they could make more cars more quickly. History does seem to be repeating itself, because it wasn't that long ago that they did the very same all over again when they invested heavily in their new MQB chassis, the one that the Golf 7 is built on. Such was the success of the new platform that by January 1976, Volkswagen had already built 1 million of the Mark I Golfs. But the best was still to come, because in that year, they released something which was going to shake the motoring world to its very core. They brought out the very first hot hatch, the GTi. But driving the new GTi in the city is only going to tell you so much, so I'm going to take it for a real drive around some mountain roads. This is an astonishing piece of kit. It sort of reminds me of that scene in The Matrix. You know, the one where Neo gets upgrades plugged into his brain? Well, the same thing happens when you sit in behind the wheel of the GTi. It hardwires itself to your hands and your feet. No other GTi has ever made me feel like this. And when you get dialed in and you really get attuned to how this thing handles, you are in for one heck of a ride. The clutch is lovely and light. The brakes are very sharp, and the brakes really set off the outside of the car. Red calipers, white GTi logo, mwah, fantastic. The accelerator is beautifully weighted, and that really matters, because when you want to just slow things down, you don't want to have something that as soon as you touch in the accelerator, you set off like a rocket. This GTi does still need to be all things to all people, and you can drive this thing fairly civilized, but if you don't want to drive it fairly civilized and you want to put your foot down, when you get past the midway point in the accelerator, all hell breaks loose. It's like a magnet pulling your foot to the floor, and it just eggs you on, telling you to go faster. And you know what? You'd be a fool to ignore it, because this is exhilarating. But it never feels scary or like you're going to run out of room on the road. You just pick a line, and no matter how tight, the GTi just finds a way to grip and grip and grip and keep you on the black stuff. That could also be down to the fact that Volkswagen have fitted independent suspension all round to the GTi, so it handles quick changes of direction and humps and bumps in the road without any fuss. Honda, are you listening? Independent suspension all round, not that ancient torsion beam stuff. Please go back to the days of the EP3 Type R for your next one. Thank you. Volkswagen have really nailed the steering in the GTi, and it might surprise you to hear this, but it's electronic and not hydraulic. Now, I always tend to steer clear of anybody in the debate of whether hydraulic is better than electronic. A lot of enthusiasts watching this will just immediately jump to, well, hydraulic is. I don't particularly care. A, the argument is very boring, and B, if the car feels nice to drive and turns in sharply, it doesn't really matter whether it's coming from mechanical parts or electronically. To me, it doesn't. The GTi isn't cheap though. It costs €35,500, and no matter what way you cut it, that's an awful lot of money for a Volkswagen Golf. However, it did cost more back in 2007 and 2008, so you're saving money over those models. It used to cost €36,500, and then in 2008, €37,000. And this model is only €280 a tax per year, and that's because Volkswagen have still been able to retain a lot of the fuel efficiency that they put into their regular cars, even though you're getting tremendous performance. I could ramble on forever about this GTi, it really is that good. But if you take just one thing away from this video, let it be this: that in 40 years, Volkswagen has constantly been at the top of their game. GTi badge aside, the Golf is truly one of the world's most impressive products.